It is my pleasure to introduce Aashi Kulkarni. She is a sophomore at Nashua High School South. She is very hardworking and motivated. Her passions are dance, ice figures, figure skating, and swimming. She always likes to try something new. She's been doing dance since she was 8 years old, specifically Bollywood. So it's my pleasure to introduce Aashi Kulkarni.
Hi everyone, my name is Aashi Kulkarni and I'm a sophomore at Nashua High School South. First off, can everyone hear me all right?
Yes.
All right. So today, thank you Ria Amalia for that very impactful and enlightening speech about LGBT. Today, I'm going to be talking to you guys about a medical disorder called Castleman's disease and my personal encounter with it. Specifically, I will tell you what CD is, my personal journey with this disease, how it changed me as a person, and what I learned from this experience. What is Castleman's disease? I mean, I'm guessing out of all of you in the audience, none of you have ever heard of this name. Castleman's disease can occur in people of all ages, and normally there's an abnormal growth of cells that creates lymph nodes in your body, similar to that of a lymphoma. There are two types of this disease: multicentric Castleman's disease and unicentric Castleman's disease. UCD can be easily treated with surgery, unlike MCD, which cannot be treated and can be as life-threatening as cancer. Approximately 200 cases of Castleman's disease are diagnosed each year. So, coming back to my story, sometime during the 8th grade year, I felt a large bump that could move under my left ear. I didn't think it was anything, so I left it alone. But as it grew larger and larger and harder, my mom began to notice it, and she said that my left side of my face was chubbier than the right side. So obviously, as a concerned mother and a doctor, she went and consulted her colleagues, who told her that I should get it checked out because of the absence of pain. I did an ultrasound which revealed nothing other than just a lymph node, like there was something there. And then I did a fine needle aspiration test. Now, if I had known what that test was, I would never have done it. As I sat there, as the doctor took a giant needle and stabbed it right in my lymph node to suck a tissue sample out, I remember crying so much because of the pain. Even I actually was holding my mom's hand and I kind of left a nail indent in her hand that she still has. I'm sorry for that. But yes, that was a horrible experience, but it did conclude that it was a lymph node. The treatment for this was surgery, which was scheduled to take place on June 17, 2016. I remember sitting in the pre-op room with sweaty palms and shaky hands because I was nervous since I never had surgery before. So, as I was wheeled into this large, intimidating OR room, I was really, really nervous. After everything was prepped, it was time to put me to sleep, and the last thing I remember was them putting an oxygen mask on my face. When I woke up, I was in extreme pain, obviously, because I just had surgery, and because there was a tube, like a drain, attached into my incision because to prevent any blood clotting. Because I was so heavily drugged, I don't remember much from that experience, but there was an incident that my mom's colleague and the nurse that took care of me told me later at the hospital. Apparently, while I was like really hazy and didn't know what was going on, I had to go to the bathroom, and when I couldn't go, I decided to yell to the whole floor that my bladder wasn't working and that I had gone into organ failure, and I said a bunch of crazy things like that so that everyone could hear. And then that was really embarrassing because all my mom's colleagues came and told me, and the whole, like all my friends knew about it and all the doctors knew about it. It was so embarrassing. However, post-surgery was one of the worst parts of this experience. I was in so much pain, I couldn't move my neck, I couldn't eat properly without assistance. I couldn't get in and out of my bed. And it was just difficult to do daily life things. In fact, there was even an incident where I had to be rushed to the ER because they had thought that I had bleeding at the surgical site, which thankfully there wasn't. It was just a side effect of my surgery. Throughout this tough time, I was fortunate enough to have such a loving, caring, and supportive group of friends and family. My parents would stay home or take turns staying from home from work to take care of me. Even my notoriously annoying brother was kind and nice to me. My good friends, Antara, Anisha, and Ananya, and their families came and visited me and gave me very sweet get well soon cards, which I still have today. After a couple of days, the test from pathology came back and it was revealed I had unicentric Castleman's disease. Castleman's, I thought to myself, what in the world is that? And that, believe me, that was the reaction of my surgeon and my primary care physician. No one had a clue what this was. And so it was kind of scary not knowing what the next step would be, but after a little bit of research through the night, we were able to find the right specialist, Dr. Munshi at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. Now, hearing that, I was like freaking out and kind of confused because I was like, where did this come from? And hearing that you needed to see a specialist at a cancer institute could really like make you rethink things, and it's kind of hard to explain what was going through my mind. So my mom also tried to calm me down, but all she could tell me was that this was a benign lymph node. But what else could she say? She, like the others, had no idea what was going on. So I remember I was walking into this giant hospital shakily because I was so scared and I didn't know what was going to happen. And because I'm a pediatric patient, I was sent to the Jimmy Fund Clinic. And walking into that clinic was one of the worst experiences of my life. As I walked in, all I saw were little children from newborn to kids my age, probably all diagnosed with cancer. Most actually had no hair, some had tubes going in and out of their bodies, and the thing about it is none of them seemed to care. I remember there was a corner where I saw a bunch of children, like little children. They were laughing, playing, drawing, and there was a lady reading stories, a storybook to them, and their faces were so full of happiness. I was obviously scared and relieved when I was told that I was only here because Castleman's disease is a blood-related disorder, and that all the specialists, like the hemo-oncologists, were located here. Even though I'm extremely grateful to be doing okay and that nothing bad was happening, there's still a part of me that feels guilty. Every time I go for a checkup, I feel guilty that I'm the only one with hair. I feel guilty that I'm the only one that's doing okay. And in fact, there was one thing that my specialist and the doctor told me during my first checkups, and they were like, every single day we have the responsibility of giving children and our patients such bad news, but today you have no idea how happy we are to be giving such good news to you. And that is something that I'll never forget. I have always been thankful to be blessed with such good health, but that feeling was emphasized that day. During that short moment of time, for when I didn't know anything and I didn't know what I was diagnosed with or what was happening, I probably felt what most cancer patients feel every single day, not knowing what their future is going to hold for them, not knowing what's going to happen to them. And I also deeply, even more understood that we should not take for granted what we already have because some people are not lucky enough to have that. So during this surgery, I was completely oblivious to what was happening. And my parents probably kept this from me because they didn't want to worry me, but apparently this was a high-risk surgery because it was an area that was vulnerable due to important nerves and veins. So the facial nerve, which is located right here, could have easily been and was very likely to been cut off, which thankfully didn't happen, but could have resulted in permanent paralysis of the left side of my face and a face droop. That thankfully did not happen because I had an extremely talented and good surgeon. And during this whole experience, I also didn't know how serious Castleman's disease was. So I went on the Castleman's Disease Collaborative Network page as I read the many stories of men, women, and children that have suffered through this disease and have lost their lives through it. That's when it occurred to me that this was more serious than I was let on. I remember thinking to myself, what if I were diagnosed with MCD, the deadly one? How could my life have been different? And I'm extremely fortunate that that did not happen. Although there's so many people that have been suffering, and after I read all those stories, it motivated me to help. So I became a warrior on their website, and I created a fundraising page. And in fact, I would like to thank Paresh Uncle for giving me this opportunity to help actually bring awareness about this disease, because this is a great platform too. My goal this year is to hold a fundraiser to raise money for to find a cure and to discover this disease more in-depthly. Today, I was able to share with you my personal journey with this disease, but I was also able to share with you how it changed me as a person and what I learned from this experience. All the time, I'm always hearing about stories of people and seeing things on TV, but for that short moment of time, until I experienced what they probably experienced, I didn't understand their fear until then. And someday, I wish to go back to Dana-Farber and be that lady reading a storybook to them and put a smile on their faces. Yes, I could fundraise. Yes, I may want to pursue a career in biomedical research, but these small things, such as going to a hospital and just reading to them, playing with those children, could make such a big difference in their lives. So today I'm extremely grateful to be doing so well and to have such a good health, and to be having such great family and friends that were so caring and supportive, which really matters a lot. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed my speech.